It has taken us to this moment in a meeting with the head coach of the Buckeyes, Jim Tressel. You know, we got a spot for you on the bus if you're interested.
Is that right?
Well, yeah.
If we throw any more interceptions, there's going to be someone else not on the bus.
There's a big round thing right in front of your seat.
Is that right?
Coach, what did you take? Only the second day of practice, so obviously you're not going to read too much into it. But what did you take from today?
You know, I think we've got a young bunch that's anxious to be good, and they can move around. We're capable. I think we have as much talent, you know, as we've ever had, as much youth as we've ever had. And but you know, they're anxious to get good, and it's so hard to practice well with just helmets on. And so I thought they did a good job of staying on their feet and not, you know, overdoing things and so forth. So, you know, Jerry will tell you, you don't know a thing till the pads are on, but you do sense a little bit of their focus, and I think they have a good focus.
He actually did know a thing after the pads were on. That's a totally different situation we won't get into.
Jerry, they're tough on you.
Yeah, it's a tough group.
I haven't said anything to you, Coach. I'm on your side.
You've been good so far. Jim, a year ago you talked about how it was a little different coaching a veteran team. How's it a little different coaching a young team?
You know, you can't assume anything with this group, whether we're in meetings with statistical discussions and so forth. Some of the things we talk about, they don't even know what we're talking about that does 67% of the time. So you have to go back all the way to the beginning. And with older guys that had so much of the majority of our team last year, you could get rolling a little bit and just tell those young guys, try to catch up. Now probably half the team is young guys. And so we just need to make sure that, you know, we leave no stone unturned.
With the quarterback position always being a natural leader position, it's always going to be one of the focal points. But are some other leaders emerging at this particular point that you're starting to see as far as these young players are concerned?
You know, I don't know that we've had enough adversity to have anyone emerge. Maybe they have in the summer workouts, but, you know, Jerry would tell you we're not allowed to, you know, go take part in those. We're not allowed to evaluate those. And I'm sure there were some moments there where some guys stepped up. I don't know who those are. We've got 20 seniors, 19 of which can play. Danny Podekar, a young man that's in cancer remission, is the 20th, and he's doing fine and helping as a student coach. So I'm assuming those 19 guys have stepped up and done a good job. I don't think you know your leaders truly in the season until you're behind in games or your record isn't what you'd hoped it would be, and you see who steps up and takes charge and makes sure that we get as good as we can be.
Coach, no great secret amongst the fans, amongst the media, there's been a lot of talk about the recent struggles for you guys in big games. How much do you address that with this group? They obviously hear it. They know it's out there. How do you handle that as a head coach?
Well, we don't have to talk about it because you guys talk about it all the time. So you take care of that for us. But, you know, interestingly enough, a good bit of this team hasn't been a part of some of those struggles. Quite honestly, I don't look at the struggle we had this past January same as the struggle we had 3 Januaries ago. To me, that was a great football team that, you know, with 16 seconds to go, who knows who wins that game. And you didn't walk away from there with the same feeling that you thoroughly didn't do the best you could do. Now, you looked at all the things that you could have done better, and, you know, we needed to make that tackle or whatever. But so I don't know that our team, other than historical perspective, has as much feel as the media might or the fans might and so forth, but they're very aware. And you hope what they're focusing on is getting good in this moment. The hardest thing to work on with young people is not worry about Navy, not worry about Southern Cal, not worry about Illinois. You know, worry about today's practice. Worry about today's meeting. Worry about getting some rest tonight instead of laying in the bed talking on your cell phone to your girlfriend that you're homesick. You know, focus on what you can do right at this moment. And but sure, thoughts of historical perspective will come in, but we don't talk about it much. We don't have to.
Jim, along the same lines, you know, you've won 4 in a row. You're going for your 5th Big Ten championship. Has the BCS changed or distorted expectations and goals?
Well, at Ohio,
BCS system?
you know, at Ohio State, you know, the expectations I think for quite some time have been you're supposed to win every game and all that stuff. You know, I think maybe postseason play of any kind took away from the fact that you just evaluated your season. Then, you know, there were X number of teams that played in bowl games. Well, then it became, you know, 2/3 of the teams, you know, or whatever the number is, play in bowl games. And so then how did you do in your bowl game was another additional expectation and discussion item. And now, you throw in the BCS and so forth. And as soon as the day comes when they throw in the playoffs, you know, that's going to be, we got to the point at Youngstown State that, you know, if we didn't win the national championship, that probably wasn't a very good year. And shoot, we might have done a heck of a job with a 6-5 team, you know, that particular year. But that's the way life is. And because we do have so much more exposure, you know, you weigh the good with the bad. I think our kids love it. We were talking to some guys the other day who were juniors in high school. They came over to look at our place. They're not even from Ohio. And they say what they do at night is they sit up and watch all the games on Big Ten Network. And, I mean, they were throwing out stuff about watching this game and that game, and they know our players from, you know, 10 years ago and so forth. And to me, that's a lot of upside. You know, now the downside is there are more moments to fill. And what do you fill it with? Well, we lost, you know, 3 BCS games in a row or 4. I don't know how many it's been. But, you know, I think there's more upside to this constant discussion than there is downside.
So from your perspective, then it's literally trying to get the kids to focus on a day-by-day basis as opposed to looking at the entire schedule.
Absolutely. There's no question. And that's that way every year. I don't care if it's an older group, because you take an older group, you know, you could talk to them about the fact that what could be rolling around in their heads is, you know, I don't want to get hurt. The draft's coming up. Where am I going to be drafted? Are the scouts out here today? You know, what scouts are coming to the game? They got their eyes, you know. That can happen too. So it's not just for young kids. It's for old kids, old kids my age. You know, we've got to focus on this practice and this particular week and worry about getting excited for Navy or for USC, you know, when the time is right.
Coach, one last question before we let you go. You had a few players who you were expecting to be out here who aren't for various reasons. Take us through the status of Tyler Moeller, of Ray Small, and of Rob Rose.
Well, we didn't invite 2 of those 3, so I didn't expect them to be out here.
Well, maybe you were expecting to have them in the spring, let's say.
Oh, in the spring, yeah, right, absolutely. But they didn't do what you need to do to, you know, gain that privilege because, you know, even if you leave the spring a starter, you know, every day you continue upholding whatever it is you need to do to keep that privilege. Now, in Tyler's case, he had an injury, and it was an unfortunate injury. It had nothing to do with football, and you know, we're probably going to miss him for the year, and you know, it's disappointing and you know, very involved and so forth. But you know, so we knew, you know, there was a guy that we were planning on being here yesterday, but there were 2 other guys that still have more work to do so that they can get their privileges.
What are the odds of either of those 2 other guys being back out here? Have you ruled them out?
Oh, very high. Yeah. We don't do odds. We're not allowed to gamble. You're not gonna lead me down that path.
Give you an over/under, Coach.
I never heard of odds.
See what I have to do?
Right.
Yeah, no, it's a very difficult struggle. Every day is a struggle for DiNardo.
I don't even know what odds are.
Jim Tressel, head coach of the Buckeyes. Thanks as always for your time, Coach. Really appreciate it.